But now 2 weeks in a row of you guys putting an offense on the field, I'm like, I mean, it's USC's defense, so hold on. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, that makes me a little more nervous for this weekend because now you guys are actually moving the ball consistently. Barnes seems to be the guy. It does make me a little more nervous about this weekend.
Yeah, when just kind of a little perspective for coming out of Utah, we all kind of expected Cam to play at some point, right? Like everything that had been pushed from the team was that Cam was going to play, and so it wasn't necessarily a surprise he didn't play against Florida and then Baylor, and we all kind of waited for it, and then as you mentioned, the team just announced this last week that they're shutting it down. So the offense has looked significantly better the last 2 weeks. Now one's against Cal, right? And then the other's against USC. But I think a big part of that is Barnes now, he knows he's the dude, right? He knows he's the guy. And he's getting every first-team rep. And I think that is making a big difference and that the game plan can be completely tailored to what his strengths are and what the offense's strengths are. So it's a good time for Utah to get an offense rolling. I'm kind of with you. Like, looking at the schedule, I was really dreading. I mean, we play USC, Oregon, we play Washington still, right? It's just now that it gives me a little bit more hope to see, hey, the offense can do some stuff, including running the ball, but we can pass the ball a little bit too. It's good to see.
Yeah, I think the uncertainty, it was affecting everybody. I mean, obviously fans, we all kind of wanted to know what was going on, but I really think it was affecting the team. Just that every week of like, okay, is this the week he's going to come back? Is it going to be this week? Because I honestly think they didn't really know week by week. And now that the uncertainty's gone, they're just going to move forward. I mean, I think we definitely saw it with the USC game. You can tell they're starting to gel a little bit more. Now, coming up against Oregon's defense is going to be a whole different story than USC defense. So I'm not pretending that like all of a sudden we're just going to roll over Oregon, but it's nice for us to see that we've got offense that's actually working together, being productive, because our first 4 or 5 games, we just hadn't seen any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to ask you guys, like, how do you feel about that? Like, obviously against Cal and then against USC, who, both defenses aren't that great, like going up against like possibly one of the top defenses in the nation with now your kind of offense getting rolling.
I mean, yeah, I think that Oregon and Utah are super similar when it comes to like that defensive mentality. I think that they're both very well coached. Oregon, they've got the advantage when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. The biggest thing is we've lost 3 running backs this year at one point or another. And now we've brought this guy. We watched the USC game, Vaki. He's actually a safety. He plays both ways. He's provided like this spark. It's incredible. So he's provided this spark when it comes to the run game. Our other running back, number 3, you'll see Jaquindon Jackson. He's a converted quarterback. So we have a safety and a quarterback playing running back for us. And he's just a big, strong, physical dude. So I think that the key is going to be Utah being able to run the ball and establish that. And then I think that Bryson's getting more comfortable running the offense. He looked by far the most comfortable against USC and making quick decisions. That was the one thing that I haven't seen was his ability to make quick, prompt decisions, get the ball out of his hands before the pass rush could get to him. So I think that he can continue that against Oregon. It's going to be a tall task because I think their defense is probably the best defense we've faced to this point. I think that Utah does stand a chance here for sure.
Yeah, it's not USC's defense, that's for sure.
Well, and likewise, I mean, Oregon, we lost Whittington, so our second string running back. We still have Irving, even though he got dinged up this last week. Don't know exactly the extent of that, but he's back apparently. But Utah, by far, is going to be the best defense we have faced. So it's kind of an equal matchup of like, okay, what are we going to expect now equally across on the other side of the field?
Yeah, like my biggest question, not even question coming into it, but the aspect that I'm most interested coming into this week is definitely how Oregon approaches the run game. So, I mean, evidently they're a team who moves the ball on the ground very well. They've done so all year. Transversely, Utah does a very, very good job of kind of stifling the run and limiting the damage and, kind of disrupting that game plan. So I am kind of curious from an Oregon perspective as to how creative they get with getting some of their playmakers the ball out into space, trying to reach the edge on certain plays. But I think in terms of what Utah brings on the defense, that is my biggest one where I'm like, I don't know. We're going to see how that goes. I know on Twitter, it's, you get a ball bag of people from, who are first-time fans to people who've been watching it for 15, 20, 30 years, and they're like, oh, we got Bucky Irving. We're going to be just fine. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, there's something different about playing in Salt Lake against a very well-coached team who, they hang their hat on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm nervous to say the least, but I'm kind of excited to see how that gets approached come to game day.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we talked about this in our episode from last night. Utah, we've only allowed, it's on average 78 yards rushing per game. And I know Oregon, you average 225 yards rushing per game. So that matchup right there, that's really the key to what's going to happen on Saturday. Whoever's going to falter there will probably end up winning just because that's our strength is stopping the run. But Oregon's super balanced. You guys rush and pass. So I don't know. It is going to be interesting. The other stat that I found so interesting is you guys average 40 points a game or something like that. Is that right? And Utah
47, 48.
47, yeah.
But who's counting?
Yeah.
Utah allows an average of 15. We've allowed an average of 15 points this season for games. So it's going to be interesting. Now, again, Utah's offense hasn't been really doing anything except for the past 2 games. So our stats for offense are just super low because we haven't been scoring points at all these games. But that matchup there of Oregon's offense, Utah's defense, I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind. So Utah's played when we played Florida, and leading up to that game, all I heard about from Florida fans was this 2-headed monster running back tandem that they had, right? It was just going to be crazy. And I think Utah held them to 13 yards rushing the entire game, right? And then UCLA's got 2 very good running backs themselves, and Utah held them to 9 rushing yards the entire game. Now, it's different because Utah could really key in on that because the pass threat wasn't nearly what Bo Nix is. But that front 7 of Utah's nasty. They can get pressure with 4. That's a huge thing in the pass game. They don't have to blitz very often. They can get pressure with 4, although Oregon's only allowed, 4 sacks all year. So this chess match is going to be really interesting to watch. And then I think that this could arguably be the best defense Utah's faced. Being at Rice-Eccles, that brings me a lot of faith and hope because it really is a 12th man. If you've never been to Rice-Eccles, it's not the biggest stadium, but, man, it's a tremendous environment. It gets rowdy. The student section, the Muss, they get into it. So it's a ton of fun. So if you haven't been there, if you can make it out, do it, everybody. Kind of now, and game day's coming, people. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, do you think they'll be in daytime versus nighttime will make a difference? Because nighttime games always have that extra. It feels like that always has an extra energy. I don't know if that's just more the student sections have more time to drink, or whatever it is. But nighttime games always seem to be just that much rowdier.
Well, let me explain the difference between daytime and nighttime coming this year. I looked at the weather report. Saturday night is supposed to be the first night of snow falling in Salt Lake, but it's only supposed to be possible rain showers during the day. That's a big difference.
It is supposed to only be I think they said 49 degrees or something like that during game time. Maybe 50, maybe 51, 52, something like that. So,
but 20 something at night.
Yeah, that jumps.
So that's a big difference.
I mean, there is something for sure special about, I think, any night game college football atmosphere. I think that, it's not unique to Rice Eccles, but there is just something different about it when the lights are on. I've always felt that way. I'm really bummed this game's not a 6 p.m. kick, honestly. But that being said, we played UCLA at the same time, and that was one of the most rowdiest stadiums I've ever been in. I mean, it was shaking. And so, yeah, I think that it makes a difference, but we bring it every game. Well, I think the students will have plenty of time to get inebriated as they can get and stumble their way over to the stadium and hopefully find their seat, I guess.
The students will be camping out all night for game day. They probably won't even go to bed. I think that added to it. I do agree, though. Night games, you can't replace it, but it is what it is. People are going to show up. It's Oregon. This is a huge game. So, don't count out Rice Eccles just because it's 1:30.
And ignore the Beaver hater in here.
Did you just let Clint in?
Ignore the Beaver hater. He's already had his moment. Do you think that was that? Go ahead, Sean. No, go ahead.
For us Duck fans, do we really think that weather's going to kind of affect us as well? Because we aren't kind of more used to that cold, being 49 degrees out there.
I mean, you guys play in rain all the time, so I don't think it's going to really make a difference at all.
I think it just means both teams are going to probably try to run even more. I think, and that I don't know who that.
It never rained at Autzen Stadium. Just forget.
Allegedly, we know it. Just if it doesn't rain, it literally is a tsunami. Hence, 2013 Cal game where everyone was literally just sliding across the field.
Yeah.
Do you think the crowd noise, though, for instance, like you were saying, the daytime at UCLA, do you think that's more of the crowd noise going, like with USC, you guys ruined the conference? Ruined the conference, absolutely destroyed it, because they were the start. And I think everyone has it kind of on the bucket list of, we got to beat these teams one more time,
Yeah, I mean, it is too bad that all these are going away, right? I mean, I made a joke on Twitter that I'm really bummed USC's leaving, and Lincoln Riley, because I loved having an automatic win, right? But the reality is we've developed some really good rivalries over the last 12 years that Utah has been in, right? I mean, coming from the Mountain West, we got to play one, maybe two Power 5 teams every year, right? A Cal would come in and it would be a huge deal. We played Oregon one time. I can't remember what year that was, and it was huge. And then you go back to playing, Wyoming and Air Force and all that stuff. So developing these rivalries has been really cool, and I think that we've been able to do that. USC, but we've kind of talked about it. There's been some really big, fun, entertaining games, and it's been a really evenly matched series, I think. And it's really too bad that for this foreseeable future, we don't know what college football is going to be in the next 5 years, but for the next couple of years at least, totally different conferences, and we'll be cheering for you guys. It's just, it kind of sucks that that's going away, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of feel that way with seeing how the Pac-12 is actually this year now, and not knowing going into really the season of what the conference would really kind of entail. We knew that obviously Oregon, Utah, Oregon State, Washington, all of that were going to be good, but it does kind of suck knowing that the Pac-12 is finally at least decent for once, and we don't get more of it in the coming years.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating part is the Pac has been such a overlooked conference over the last, realistically 10 years. We'll have our Utahs or Oregons or, those couple of years USC is actually decent. But, it's just the focus is on those 1 to 2 teams this year for the first time that I'm seeing, at least. It appears that, it's getting some national respect up and down the conference. It's a fairly deep conference to the point where, we have to look at Arizona on a schedule and go, oh, man, I don't know if I want the smoke with those guys,
Right? Bro,
Well,
we go to Arizona, and I'm terrified of that game. We go there, and I'm looking at that going, that's not a layup.
Not what it was looking like at the beginning of the year for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're playing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we skip Arizona. We have to go to ASU, but we skip Arizona. So I'm glad about that. And that's it. I think one thing that we've seen is the respect that the conference finally is getting this year, especially after last year, was teams will lose a game and they won't just immediately drop out at home like in years past. So like we lost to Washington, we dropped one spot. Utah lost to Oregon State. On the road, they dropped like 3-4 spots at most. Oregon State's lost. They dropped only a few spots. It wasn't like you're gone. You're gone.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I will agree. USC being ranked still though. That's a joke.
Right.
2 losses in a row. You shouldn't be upset.
They'll be out.
USC and LSU both have multiple losses, and they're still hanging on at the bottom of the 25. It's like, that's crap.
They're a media darling. You know what that is. We see that all the time the SEC predominantly, but unfortunately USC falls into that category too, where they just get coddled and babied by the AP, and I'm sure it's going to be the same case once the CFP comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at Alabama. They've crawled all the way back to 9th already.
Can Brandon and James, can you guys confirm, because a lot of people avoided the question, when Lincoln Riley did his press conference, the music blasting next door, that was the Utah locker, correct? As they were
what I've heard, yeah.
That's allegedly, but yes.
Allegedly, but yes.
I like the story better than USC's locker room.
That too. There was a report that it was USC's locker room, like they're partying after a loss. So like,
maybe it was them. Would it surprise anybody though? I mean, with the culture they've got, like honestly, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they just kind of walked off the field and they're like, whatever, I'll go get my NIL money. Who cares? But no, from what I've heard, it was Utah, and they were celebrating as they should. So,
I mean, until that last drive, like that game was scary. So,
yes,
you may as well party after that.
No, no doubt in the pig farmer, boys. I knew all along.
I love a Twitter post from a guy earlier. He's going to game day. He's a Utah fan. He has a pig suit. He's like, I'm going to game day in the pig suit. And I'm like,
I saw that.
Love it.
Yeah. There's probably going to be a lot of those showing up this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I do love Whittingham for that. One, I have the most respect for Whittingham and what he's done, how consistent he is. But him saying, well, they have a Heisman over there. Well, we have a pig farm over here. We love him too. Or he's great also. Like basically on the lines of that, I was like, so good.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we ever hear mostly, I guess, unless you're USC, but who cares about them, is everyone just has the utmost respect for Kyle Whittingham. And obviously we just love and adore him and never want him to leave ever. But I mean, that man just garners respect from everyone in the conference, everyone in the country. He's still kind of under the radar, which is so strange to me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but, he does get a ton of respect from all of the other Pac-12 teams, which I appreciate.
Does anybody know who this person is?
Yeah, we were talking last night on their show a little bit. We were conversing, and I think we were talking on Twitter earlier today. He's a Utah fan. He's an Oregon Utah fan. He's an Oregon Ute.
I don't know.
He's wrapping himself in bacon for the show.
All right.
Whether at home or in the stadium, that is to be decided. We will leave it at that. I don't want to know.
He's going to respond and say he'll be at game day wrapped in bacon.
Yeah.
You never know what happens at game. What happens at game day stays at game day, especially if it's like the early morning hours. Just let it be
till it hits Twitter.
Oh, Bend, Oregon.
Oh, he's
from Oregon Ute. I lived in Prineville. It's like 30 miles from you for a few years. So I know where you're at.
So you guys, James and Brain, are you guys going to a game day?
We'll go. We're not going to camp out and try and be, in that front row. Our time is past for doing that. But no, we're gonna head over there for sure, and then tailgate, and then head to the game.
Right on.
I
How
don't
many
blame
people do you
you.
guys think will show up for game day experience?
It'll be packed. I mean, every time game days come to Utah, it's packed, and it's been what, James? What did we decide? 8 years? I think it's been 8 years since they've come.
8 years.
So
I think I saw a post. It was 2016 was the last time they were there.
Yeah, so it's like a whole new generation of people who maybe didn't do it before. So I think everyone's going to be super excited for it. I mean, the weather is going to suck, but you just wear boots and you're fine.
People will just bundle up anyway. They're going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
You get up, you go.
There's going to be people not even bundled up there. You'll probably see a few people shirtless.
Oh, shirtless, painted up.
Everything,
yeah,
right?
James himself. He's like, yeah, me.
Hey, no one wants to see this level of white on game day. I'll tell you that. No,
I didn't say anything.
Hey, it's Utah. You just got to go red. Just claim it's a sunburn, okay? You'll be fine.
There you go.
I think that would be snowburn at that point, wouldn't it? Frostbite. Yeah. Just call it frostbite.
Frostbite. Yeah.
There you go. So the key to the games we're thinking are D-line, and running game, especially in cold weather, maybe a little wet. The passing offense is probably not going to be there other than short pass screens. But as someone noted, our Beaver fan, because he's here, taking his shots at Utah, of course. Bart, I was impressed mostly with Barnes' running. His decision making was very quick on a lot of those runs that he did. He saw an opening and he took off down the field, and I was like, "That's scary," because now you have to put another guy just to spy him and not allow that opening. That's a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you've got Bo Nix. I think I saw, what did I see today? That he has the most starts out of any quarterback or something that's still playing. It's like, what is it, like 54 or something wild?
Yeah,
like
54.
I mean, he's got the experience, and you can't replicate that. He's got that experience. He's been doing it for so long. So, I mean, again, we have the utmost respect for Oregon. This is one of those games where if Utah loses to Oregon, I can live with that. You know what I mean? Like, there's some teams, if we lose to them, I can't handle that, USC and others. But Oregon's playing an amazing ball this year. I hope for the best for your season. Like, I think it's just going to be an awesome game. I'm excited to just be able to go and watch two really good teams compete together, because this is what is so fun about college football.
Yeah, I just kind of echo that. I think that the key is really going to be, it's strength on strength in so many ways. Barnes is starting to hit a little bit of his stride, but it does make me nervous. This is a really good Oregon team. But like I mentioned earlier, it's at home, and being at Rice-Eccles, there's just something special about Rice-Eccles. There just really is, and the crowd gets into it. False starts are going to happen, and that helps out the team, obviously. So it'll be really good. I've been saying all along, I've been blown away by Bo Nix. When he was, coming over to Oregon from the SEC, I thought he was a total bust. And I said it. I was like, this is, because he had a lot of hype, right? Coming out of high school and a lot of hype, and I was like, he's just not good. I'll eat my words. The guy's been unbelievable. So I'm really excited for this. This will be a really, really good game.
Absolutely. One more thing. So I don't know much about the Utah secondary. Obviously, we know what their front seven looks like. The linebacking play solid. Defensive line extremely solid. I'm going to go ahead and limit this point. Who knows what Saturday is going to look like, and say, maybe we'll be able to air the ball out a little. Try to move the ball through the air, which is going to have to happen if Oregon expects to put up any type of points. Obviously, if you get one-dimensional, it's probably not going to go well for us. And from your perspective, you guys get to see it and critique it and watch it every week. How do you think the Utah secondary lines up against, in my opinion, what I believe is a very, depth is at the wide receiver position is something that, or it's a strength of Oregon's right now. I mean, we've seen 3, 4, 5 different wide receivers, have great games so far. And, I trust the depth probably down to RW, R5. How do you think the Oregon wide receiving core line, stacks up against the Utah secondary? And how do you envision that kind of playing out on Saturday?
Honestly, I think Utah's got a really, really good secondary. They're battle tested. They don't have very many young players. And so if you watch the USC game, there was a number of times Caleb just had nowhere to go with the ball. And there's a couple of factors on that. And the number one is, like I mentioned, if we can get pressure with 4, which allows the back end to not be stretched so thin. And then Utah's got an All-American caliber safety, Cole Bishop. You'll see number 8, just an absolute monster. So we have Battle. He's a transfer from Ole Miss. And then Broughton and Vaughn are other corners. And they've been in the program for a really long time. So I think that Utah's secondary can hold up. I think that Oregon will get some yards, much like USC did. But it'll be really interesting if Utah can get that pressure with 4 and allow the other dudes to not be stretched so thin like they were able to do it at USC. That, for me, is really going to be the key. Because if we have to bring extra pressure, that's where it makes me a little bit nervous.
That's 100% fair. And I mean, one thing that we're seeing this year from Bo Nix in particular that we weren't seeing last year is he's much more reserved to run the ball this year. He's taken his time to make these reads downfield, and running is no longer, a quick second option. It's one of those like last resort things. Maybe I'll try to, scurry upfield and grab a quick 10, 15 yards if possible. So, I mean, that's another thing that kind of makes me a little bit nervous. Just facing a wonderful front 7 is just, I don't know how it's going to be attacked. And what I'm going to guess we're going to see is I think we're going to see Bo use his legs a little bit more this game than he has in previous games. Just kind of like how you were saying, this is the best defense that you faced so far. This is absolutely the best defense that Oregon's faced to this point. So, I mean, I think they're going to have to get creative with how they get their players out into space and such. So, yeah, I really don't know how to take this game on Saturday, just because, like you said, there's so many positions and where it's like Oregon's strength matches perfectly with Utah's strength. And I don't know. I'm very excited for it, though. These type of games are what makes college football so exciting.